Today what I want to share with you is a foundation workout, a complete workout that you can do and what you should be doing as sort of the first phase of your off-season training. I know a lot of you, your season wraps up and either you're excited or you're disappointed and you want to make sure next season is your best ever. So I think typically players skip some of the foundation stuff and charge ahead, which in the end can kind of come around and bite you hard. So I want to make sure you get off to a good start. So I've put together this program. It's entirely free, and it's basically just a Reader's Digest version of what you would get with the hockeyworkoutclub.com. So the Hockey Workout of the Month club. I'm going to give you about 4 mobility exercises, 5 or 6 strength exercises, an energy system workout that you can do. And it'll just give you a taste of the type of things you should be doing. You can go ahead and do it and use this as your first phase workout. I'll tell you how many sets to do, how many reps to do, video of the exercises. You're all good. So it's a little special present from me to you. This is Maria from hockeytrainingpro.com. I'll see you next time. Foam roll our quads, so the front of our thigh. And again, working the different angles, so the inside, the middle, and the outer portion. Sometimes I split it into thirds, so kind of the top third for about 10 seconds, and then the middle third for 10 seconds, and then the bottom third for 10 seconds, just above my knee. And if it's too sore, put your other toe on the ground and offload some of the pressure. This is a little sinister. We're going to do lacrosse ball on our hip flexors. You can also use a tennis ball. So basically, if you put your thumb across the front of your hip and lift your leg, you'll feel a bundle of muscle pop up right about here. So that's what we're going to roll. And you can go along it, but you can also go across it. Use your arms to offload a bit of the weight so that it's not so uncomfortable when you're first starting out. And don't go fast, just a nice steady pace. This is a figure 4 hip stretch. So you're gonna lie on your side and bring this foot in front of your knee and just above your knee like that. And then roll onto your stomach. What you're trying to do is get this point on your hips down, you know, ideally to touch the floor. So you'll kind of contract your bum a little bit, sort of gently push this down toward the floor, but it's going to take time. It's not something that anyone can just, you know, push their hip bone down to touch the floor. And then you'll just rest like that. This is the elevated hip flexor stretch. I've actually set myself up on a bit of an angle to the step. Then I'm coming across, and now I'm bringing my hips and my shoulders so that they're square to the step, and I feel a stretch in the leg that's down. I'll show you from this side. So I'm coming in from an angle at the step, put my foot straight on the step, bring my hips and shoulders around to be square, and I'm feeling a stretch either here or into your thigh, staying nice and tall in your torso. If you want more stretch, squeeze your glutes together as opposed to leaning back and extending your back. The supine shoulder external rotation is just a shoulder mobility exercise. So we're trying to keep this part of our wrist flat and bring that down to the floor without arching our back at all. You can come forward a little bit too. That's internal rotation, making sure your shoulders, the back of your shoulders stays flat on the floor. So the reason we want to have this mobility is so that, you know, you can make those glove saves, or you have the mobility to externally rotate without having to extend your lower back, because over time that can lead to overuse problems in your lower back. And then the last point, just make sure that you're touching the back of your wrist and not touching your fingers and having your wrist sort of extended like that. When you do the quadruped rock back, don't let the lower part of your back round at all. So just sit straight back with your hips as far as you can. You will get to a point where your sort of tail tucks under a little bit, and I don't want you going that far. We're trying to clean up that squat pattern. You really like to bend your low back a lot, or round your low back to get down in that squat position. So just think sitting your hips straight back, keeping an arch in your low back for the quadruped rock back. A lot in our warm-up, so it'll be familiar to you, but it's your active dorsiflexion. So keeping your heel on the ground, this is the leg we're working on. Keep your heel on the ground. Make sure your second toe points straight to the wall. And then you're just going to bring that knee as far forward as you can without your heel lifting off. And we'll go kind of over your big toe, bring the knee over your middle toe, then bring the knee over your baby toe. So you're kind of getting 3 different angles. Big toe, middle toe, baby toe. And you probably just feel a little tightness down toward your Achilles. You do the dumbbell split squat. You'll really at the bottom, I want you to be in about a 90-90 position. So the front knee is bent at 90, the back knee is bent at 90, that back thigh is pointing straight down at the floor, and that's really your position. So you might even want to start down there. We're going to come down until your knee is just 1 or 2 inches off the floor, and then back up. And really I'm thinking of pushing this front foot into the floor to lift me up and down. I want to make sure I'm getting the glutes on that side and that I'm keeping my chest up. I don't want you falling forward here into that split squat position. The knee is staying roughly over the ankle, and from the front you're making sure that the knee is pointing straight ahead, not falling in like that or even just slightly in. You want to keep it right in line with the middle toe, or the second toe actually, of your foot. We're going to do a standard dumbbell one arm row. So the big thing here is I want to have about a 90-degree bend at my hips, and I want to keep a flat or a neutral curve in my lower back. I don't want to be rounded like this. I'm going to stick my bum out behind me, push my chest out in front a little bit, and that's the position I'm going to have. Now when I row up, my elbow will be just away from my side, and I'm going to squeeze that shoulder blade back as I row. I'll even pause a little bit at the top so that I know I'm controlling the weight and I'm getting that good squeeze. I don't want to do, you know, see out there starting the lawnmower. Just get that nice squeeze. And again, for this one, we're going to bring the elbow just a couple inches off from the side, not straight out to the side on this one. This one will come right back. When you do this stability ball rollout, I want you to start with a bit of a forward angle. Your hips in line with your shoulders, so I don't want your bum out behind you. I want it here, so your torso's in a straight line. Then you're just going to roll until you feel like your abdominals want to contract. And then again, just come up this far. Don't come all the way up and take the tension off. Start and stop here. Bracing with your abdominals the whole time. If you get to a point where you feel that jump on your back really strain or almost quickly tighten up, you've gone out too far. So slow down a little bit, stop. As soon as you feel like your abdominals just want to tighten. This may seem like a fairly easy exercise, and I guess technically, or maybe in terms of how strenuous it is fairly easy, but technically I want to make sure we're getting it just right. So it's a double leg glute bridge. We're going to start off by bracing our abdominals so that our torso is kind of locked in. I want my hips and my rib cage to move at the same rate. So, and then I'm just going to push my feet into the floor and lift to make a straight line from my knees to my hips to my shoulders. And I'm squeezing my glutes, I'm squeezing my bum cheeks the whole time I'm holding this exercise. So I'm thinking about, my old ski coaches used to say, imagine you're trying to crack a walnut between your bum cheeks. So I'm kind of thinking that idea. My hamstrings will be turned on a little bit too because they're helpers, but I really want to emphasize feeling this in my glutes. And then you'll come straight down again. So it's not a roll up, roll down. It's just a hinge at the hips, squeezing the glutes, holding for the required amount of time, back down to tap down. This is a side plank progression. So first one would be with your knees bent. When your knees are bent, sit back in your hips when you're on the ground, and then when you come up, bring your hips forward as opposed to side bending like that. So bring your hips forward. So that's one. And then the other would be from your feet. And it's okay to put one foot forward and 1 foot back. I used to always want it stacked like that until I saw Stu McGill speak on biomechanics of the spine, and he pioneered really the planking exercises. And he said, hey, the plank's not meant, side plank isn't meant to be a balance exercise, it's meant to be a stability exercise. So I thought that was really good. So now that's the way I teach it. Make sure this shoulder stays back. Sometimes people want to roll it forward to get more rectus abdominis. To be honest with you, some people don't like doing these in the gym, and I can't say as I blame them, but they're really important glute activation exercises, so we need to do them, whether you do them in the gym or in the basement with the windows closed and the lights turned out. It's up to you. We're going to start in a hands and knees position. We're going to bring our heel as close to our rear end as we can get it. So we're going to flex our hamstrings, put them in a shortened position so that hopefully they'll get the message that we really don't want them doing this next movement, which is hip extension. So I don't want any movement here, no movement in my lumbar spine whatsoever. You can see I'm not even or just barely getting my thigh in line with my torso. And that's because I'm a little bit tight in the hip flexor. So if I kept trying to push it to get up there, that would come from back extension, not hip extension. So watch yourself, and I think very few of you will get beyond even with your torso. The second part of this, same thing, my heels to my bum, and I'm coming straight out to the side, just as far as I can. Again, without rotating my hips. So I'm trying to get my glute medius there, and the first one I'm trying to get more of my glute max to do the work. So glute activation exercises are really just retraining exercises to make sure that you're able to turn on your glutes, to extend your hip and abduct at the hip. Lots of athletes, it's really surprising, but they get very dominant in their quads. They get very dominant in their hamstrings, and they can do those actions without even using their glutes. They can extend their hips. So we need to make sure that we're staying on top of it and that you're using those glutes, because they're your most powerful hip extensor that you have. The staggered stance, stiff-legged deadlift is kind of a funny one. Really, you're going to have all the weight on this leg that's fairly straight. The toe of the other foot just sits down, or the toes just sit there. And then it's just a hinge at your hips as you come forward until you feel a stretch in this hamstring. And then you're going to squeeze the hamstring and the glute to bring you back up. Notice I'm not letting my back round. So people often get here and then they run out of room in their hamstring, so then they reach with their fingers. I don't want that. I want it just to be a hip hinge. So your hips kind of sit back a little bit. Then as you come up, you'll squeeze here. When you start doing this with dumbbells, make sure to keep those dumbbells or the weight quite close to your leg. Don't hold it out here. Hold it right in close to your leg. This knee is softly bent, so it's not locked straight, softly bent, but it's rigid, meaning that I don't bend it more as I come forward. So here's a nice energy system workout for you for early in the off season, just to kind of get you used to doing a little bit of running on the field. You're going to go to a soccer pitch or a football pitch, and you're going to stride or kind of sprint at about 85% of your maximum. So not full out, just about 85% of your maximum speed from one end of the pitch to the other, the length of the pitch. Then when you get to the end, you're going to shuffle. You know, just staying nice and low, shuffle, shuffle. Don't let your feet touch each other. Just shuffle through, level shoulders, low in the legs. You're going to shuffle the width. Halfway across, turn and face the other direction, keep shuffling. So you get half facing each direction. You'll shuffle the width. And then you're going to do another 85% stride back down the length of the field. And then you're just going to walk the width. So that's going to be your recovery. So you'll stride down, shuffle, turn halfway, shuffle, and then stride all the way back to the end that you started on. And then you'll just walk back to the starting point, nice and easy, and you'll repeat that 5 times. So you'll get 10 strides, you get 5 shuffles, and then 5 walks for recovery.